It's a dilemma. The MMR vaccine will protect you against measles, mumps and rubella. But today, questions about the vaccine.
I'm Brian Deere, and over a 10-year period I investigated the scare over the MMR children's vaccine.
This is the man for whom giving up was never an option.
I'm David Walsh, Chief Sports Writer at the Sunday Times. I spent a long time looking at the Lance Armstrong story. It became the story of my journalistic life.
Dr. Andrew Wakefield suggests the MMR jab could be linked with autism in children and a rare bowel condition.
When Andrew Wakefield's research was first published, he was presented as a maverick. He was lionised and celebrated. The heavy press coverage at the initial stage went on and on, simply regurgitating the things that he was saying without ever standing back and asking the critical question, could it really be true?
Armstrong goes through, best time at the check. Look at the speed of that man, and he's in the final bend. This, to me, is a little piece of cycling history.
Armstrong had ridden the Tour de France 4 times pre-cancer. His best place was 36th overall. And suddenly, he's the very best. Guy comes back from life-threatening cancer, wins the Tour de France. You know, a story that almost seemed too good to be true.
If something is too good to be true, it usually is. And I think that's something that David Walsh and myself spotted at quite an early stage. And that really is one of the parallels between these stories of coming across somebody who is just doing things that are, when you stand back and look at them, unbelievable.
Measles, mumps and rubella given together may be too much for the immune system of some children to handle.
The great thing that Sunday Times was able to give me was access to expertise. We were talking about proving that something that had been published in a medical journal wasn't as it appeared to be.
In my view, I think extraordinary accusations must be followed up with extraordinary proof.
Armstrong then sued us, came at us with enormous legal might. The case cost the Sunday Times £1 million. Here is somebody who bullies those who disagree with him.
You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on with a statement like that.
Lying came easy to him.
For the people that don't believe in cycling, the cynics and the skeptics, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry you can't dream big, and I'm sorry you don't believe in miracles.
I think the hardest time for me of the whole investigation was when a crowd of mothers and their children gathered outside the offices of the General Medical Council in London, carrying placards, championing Andrew Wakefield and essentially abusing me.
Arriving this morning, Brian Deere, the Sunday Times journalist, whose investigation had formed the basis of the GMC complaint.
It's important always to remember that they have been hurt.
If you're trying to hide something, you'd be nervous, but I don't have anything to hide, so I'm not nervous.
When the truth began to unfold in this story, it was hugely satisfying for us, and people then realising, you know what, the Sunday Times were right all those years when they were writing about Armstrong being a doper. But the actual turning point in terms of the public perception came when he did his Oprah Winfrey interview.
Do you owe David Walsh an apology?
That's a good question.
Do you owe David Walsh an apology, who for 13 years has pursued this story?
I'd apologize to David.
He blames me, still does. He thinks I was the bad guy who just focused on him and that he somehow was a victim. And I think that's the nature of the guy.
Inside the hearing, they gasped as the verdict was read. Almost every charge against him was found to be proven.
The people who go and engage in those anti-vaccine efforts, you know, they kill children. It's a very sad thing because these vaccines are important.
The vindication was a long time coming. We started this in 2004 and we ultimately didn't get the final result until 2010. As time went on, the public started listening to what it was we were saying. Parents were vaccinating their children and the uptake of MMR picked up again. I've had people say, you cannot understand the difference this has made to the lives of children and the lives of parents out there in the world. And that is something that is absolutely priceless.
That's the photo that'll be on the front page tomorrow.
I remember being at the Olympic Games in Beijing and being in the press room, and journalists from virtually, many countries in the world that I didn't know from Adam coming up to me and saying, I know you're the guy who asked all the questions about Armstrong, well done. You've been great for journalism. And that was a huge thing for me. I always felt that the guys who appreciated what the Sunday Times and I had done were the people who loved journalism and who believed in journalism.